Today I'm going to show you how to do a basic granny square. On the table you'll see a little strip of squares I've joined together, which will eventually be a blanket. But today I want to just show you how to start off with one square, and I'm going to use just scraps of yarn from my stash. So I will use a chunky selection with a 6mm hook, which is the usual hook recommended for chunky yarn. I'm going to start off with this blue, just going to put that back a bit, and you can see I've only got a little bit of yarn. This is because this is, as I said, from my stash, and it is just scraps. Now this is going to be the middle of the square, this first bit, so as you can see you do not need a lot of yarn, and each, just get the end here, each little round obviously gets bigger, but you can see you don't need a lot of yarn to start off doing a granny square. If you were going to make a huge blanket, then obviously you would need to pick your colours and perhaps have a colourway, so as you got bigger you wouldn't be changing maybe halfway round. But we start off by doing a slip knot, and we're going to make a chain of 4. So we'll go up 4, and we will join the chain on the hook to the first chain. So you can just count back your 4 and join with a slip stitch to make a little circle, which is the middle of your square. Then we need to chain up 3. That will represent a treble. Just locate the middle of your square by just teasing the yarn, and then in the middle you need to put 2 more trebles. Obviously the free chain is counting as 1 on this initial start. Then we chain 2, then we go into the middle again, but this time we make 3 trebles because we haven't got the free chain to count as 1. Then we do 2 chains, and we're back in the middle again with another 3 trebles. Two more chains, to show you. There's your 2 corners there. So you've got 1 set of trebles and then 2 there, so we need to make another set of trebles, 3 trebles into the middle, 2 chains, and before we end I always just like to check that I have actually got my 4 sets of 3 trebles, 1, 2, 3, 4, done my 2 chains, and then we need to join to the top of the first row of 3 chains. So that's the top of your trebles, so there's the top of the chain, so just go in there with your hook and make a slip stitch, cut off that yarn, put the yarn over and just bring it through loosely, squidge it down. There we are, you've started. That is your first square of the granny square. So I'll get rid of that yarn and we'll bring in another colour. Again, I'm only going to use scraps. You don't need a lot. Just got a little bit here, I've just cut off some that I need. Then we start off again with getting this yarn onto the hook. Do a slip knot, whichever way you want to do your slip knot. Get it onto the hook, and then what we need to do is we need to join this colour in. There's various ways to do a granny square, and you'll hear different people tell you where to join, how many chains, how many spaces. There's lots of ways, but this is the way that I have learnt to do it. So I will show you today my way, and then you can modify your method when you start to do it. But you can join in any corner, and what I tend to do is go into the next one. So I was in that corner to start, so I'm going to join in this next corner by means of a slip stitch, putting the new colour on to the square. Another little tip some people like to do is join. If you join in the same place, you can tie the 2 ends, so you can see how it is all personal preference. Once you're in this corner, we need to chain up 3 chains and then do 2 trebles into this same corner, two chains, and then 3 more trebles. You've used again the idea of the 3 chains as a treble, so you only had to do 2, but now we're back to doing the 3 trebles because we haven't got the 3 chains. That is a corner, and that is called a cluster, corner cluster. So that is the corner which is 3 trebles, first one made up with 3 chains, 2 chains, and then 3 trebles. And then you do 1 chain, and then we need to go into the next corner. So you've got your 3 trebles there, and then that's your corner. We've got no 3 chain to help us out here, so we go straight in with 3 trebles, two chains, and 3 more trebles. Two, 3. So that's another corner made. Because we've made a corner going down the side, we do 1 chain and then we're up to the next corner. So straight in there with your 3 trebles. Two chains because it's a corner, and 3 more trebles. One chain because you're going down the side, and then you've got your last corner. So we go in there with 3 trebles, 1, 2, 3. Because it's a corner, 2 chains and 3 trebles. It's a great little pattern for using up odd bits of yarn and mixing colours. I love a little granny square. There we go. So that's your 4 corners. So we've done our last corner, so we do our 1 chain because we're going down the side. Then we locate the top of the 3rd chain of the 3 chains we made at the beginning, and we go in there with the hook and we finish with a slip stitch. Snip that yarn, put the yarn over the hook and just bring it through and just try and smooch it in there a little bit. So that is row 2 of your granny square, and then you just continue adding in more colours. So these ends you can sew in. I'll just do one to show you because they are a bit of a nuisance when you carry on because they can get in the way. So just say the middle one. I always like doing the middle one. Just use a big darning needle and then just you cut. I always say I've come that way, so I need to go along the stitches. Just take the needle in. When you're darning in, just turn it over and make sure you can't see the needle, and then you know you're going to be okay bringing the yarn through. So just take it along a few stitches, check, and that's fine. And then you can just snip that. When you snip it, just pull it back a bit and then snip it off. And you would do that with your other ends, but obviously you haven't got the circle bit, so you would just weave it in along where you've got some nice stitches to do it. and I could do it for you just to show you. So say this one here, you haven't got the circle, but you've got all that nice bit there. So if it was me, I would be going along there, just bringing it, taking it. Just check you can't see the needle, and then bring through. You can go back along, you know, finding other stitches if you wish, but it's just to get the ends in. And then you carry on. You can leave all these pesky ends until the end, and that is personal preference. So then you would just carry on using another colour, and as I say, I tend to go on to the next corner where so I'm rotating round for joining, and you just do exactly the same until you make the square as big as you like. You can just carry on going and make a blanket, or you can make individual squares and make them into a multitude of items like a blanket by joining all the squares together. And you can make, my goodness, the list is endless: mobile phone covers, handbags, children's shoes, pot holders. If you use cotton yarn, you can make little coasters, table mats. I could go on and on explaining to you all the different things a granny square can be used for. It's such a versatile little piece of crochet. So hopefully this has got you started, and have fun doing it. Have a little bit of experiment with your colours and your scrap bits of yarn, and hope to see you in another video. Thank you for watching today.